I mean, the turning the page is the book is The Handmaid's Tale. And so I think we know that now. I mean, is it a message or is it just this sort of rapid fire firing of grievances that don't even sound cohesive at this point? And every single piece of it was aimed at women. All of it. And then name-checking Liz Cheney as sort of the icing on the garbage cake was really a message to women and anybody who has a woman in their life that they love. Because the truth is, at this point, I was up last night. I woke up at 3 in the morning, and my thought was, I would like someone to actually consider us and actually understand and care. And when you look at people dismissing this, it sometimes feels very troubling that people don't consider our humanity.
Yet this race is in a dead heat.
As George Clinton would say, it's funking close. Yeah, it's in a dead heat. But I think what's fascinating here with Trump is that he is getting, as he gets more nervous, getting angrier. And it's not to say that he's going to lose per se. I'm not making that prediction, but what I do think that he feels the pinch. And the reaction of him when he's feeling stressed is to lash out against everybody. The presidency is a stressful job. It is more stressful than campaigning for presidency. It's more stressful than the thought that he might lose a second time. And so you look at that and you say, how is this guy going to operate for 4 years if he's already at an 11 on a scale of 10? And just one other thing, I mean, we talked about some of the things that he said. I really thought the thing he said the other night was particularly, it was like the construction that he used, where he said, I'm going to, he said, I'm going to protect women whether they like it or not. And, whatever you say before whether they like it or not, throw that out the window, because most of the women I know exactly what that construction sounds like.
Okay, but not just Donald Trump. Let's talk about Mike Johnson this week, right? Floating the idea that the CHIPS Act, the bipartisan bill that's had a huge positive impact, economic positive impact on states like Arizona, floated the idea, maybe we'll repeal that. He has since walked that back, just like he did the idea, we're going to get rid of Obamacare. Maybe not. So he's certainly not helping with the closing message.
Well, beyond that, he did it when he was in New York campaigning for one of the members of Congress on the Republican side who is most vulnerable. He lives in an area in central New York that has been given billions of dollars to build a chips factory. Even Elise Stefanik signed a letter that she was thrilled to death about this money coming into that area. So you have the guy who is essentially setting the stage for, can we continue to hold the House or not? He is out campaigning for somebody in a tough race that has gotten billions of dollars. What is the last thing you want to do is say, I'm against the CHIPS Act that brought billions of dollars into your district.
It makes absolutely no sense. But, John, I want to go back to the thing that you just said, Donald Trump's words earlier this week, I'm going to protect women whether they like it or not. We're all dissecting that sentence. But chances are, whomever is still out there who is undecided or unmotivated, who these two candidates need to get off the couch and voting, what is going to be the biggest issues for them in the end? Is it abortion? Is it immigration? Is it the economy? Because all along, Donald Trump's kind of winning issues or strongest categories were immigration and the economy. And the economy has become a weaker and weaker argument for Donald Trump because while it might not be fantastic for everybody, it is absolutely not the dumpster fire that he claims it is.
So I think you asked the $64 billion, trillion dollar question, or whatever it is now with inflation. No, but I think
you're a nerd.
Oh, come
But this is the problem for the campaigns. They've been working on these people all, for the last year, basically trying to drive them out and figure out how am I going to get this gamer, who doesn't think about politics, who doesn't talk about politics, who is like on the, playing with friends on Fortnite or whatever. Like, how do I reach that person and make them? And they've done everything they can
Donald
to this
Trump
point.
Gets on board for crypto. That's exactly a cryptocurrency that he always hated. He doesn't know anything about. Suddenly, in the last 5 weeks, he's Mr. Crypto and now has his own exchange. That's how he gets them off the couch.
He's the father of crypto.
I mean, yeah, that and IVF.
Yes.
We're now. A lot of fathering going on in IVF. I'm not sure Trump's the father. But I do think that, like, when you're talking about these undecided voters, what's fascinating about it is the campaigns know who all these people are. They know what their magazine subscription habits are. They know what games they play. They know who the voters are, and they still can't get them out.
Yeah, to your point, Stephanie, the Harris campaign has such stronger ground games in every single state. They have
120,000 people on the ground in Arizona, according to Mark Kelly.
Tomorrow, here in New York City, they're going to fill up 8 buses and take them to places like Pennsylvania to go door knocking, door to door. These are things that they're doing that everybody who's ever run a campaign says is what you have to do. And yet, as you say, it's a deadlocked race. I'll answer your question very directly. This is completely anecdotal, but I've been talking to a lot of people, including dozens of Trump supporters online at Madison Square Garden. This, to me, again, based on those conversations, is the feeling part of the race. You know how people said for a long time, I don't care what the numbers say, I don't feel that the economy is doing well. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. I think that there are things that can move a race that may never even show up on an exit poll. I agree with you. Again, talking to women, including Republican women, over the last 24 hours, there is something about, and again, you honed in on this, saying whether you want it or not is triggering. I've heard that word from women, triggering. The women who have been in relationships, who have been in workshops, who have had bosses who have had dads or brothers or any male in their life who always told them, I know what's best for you. That is something that may or may not resonate with some people and say,
okay,
you know
but
what?
We're hearing that from beyond Donald Trump. Right? In the last few days, right-wing media, this whole idea, are these wives out there going to disobey their husbands, undermine them, go behind their husbands' backs?
Because it will be the ultimate betrayal, right?
Correct.
That's how they're seeing this. And that's why I think the Vice President Harris campaign's ads saying, you ain't got to tell your husband how you vote, are smart. Like, some people might scoff at that. Like, oh, what antiquated sense of marriage do you have? But the reality is that's the antiquated sense of marriage that Republican men have, some Republican men have in terms of what we've been seeing projected across right-wing media. But the reality is women know their power. And it goes to what Vice President said in response to those harmful statements from Donald Trump about whether you like it or not, when she's like, women have autonomy. Women have the ability to make their own decisions. Women have the awareness and can fully take care of ourselves. And I think that goes into her argument for why she deserves this role as the most powerful person in the world in the presidency as a woman.
And just to your point about those ads, because those ads gave me so many feelings, and not only did I feel like, oh my God, how do I feel about this commercial? And I think it's smart to talk to the women who are there. But one thing we're not talking about with those ads is, what does that relationship actually mean? That's a relationship that exists in America and that exists profoundly. And the fact that it does is also a troubling part of the system that we're talking about. Right? The fact that there are women in these marriages where they cannot have conversations about, I'm going to vote this way because these are my values, you're going to vote this way. The fact that you have to hide. And when you look at those ads, like this knowing stare, like blink twice if you need me to get you out of this marriage feeling.
Okay, but isn't there something, I don't want to say beautiful, but a real connection that she's saying, I see you, right? Because until now, right, lots of conservative women often feel like the women's movement, women's empowerment doesn't include them. It doesn't include their values. They don't see themselves in it. And the fact that in these ads, that this messaging, like, listen, I get your lifestyle, I'm not judging your lifestyle or your family, but you get to vote for whomever you want. Is there a chance that there are women out there who are saying, yes, I connect with you, and the voting booth might be the only place other than the shower that I have privacy and I can do my thing?
I can only tell you that in making a lot of phone calls to folks in Ohio for a segment that we're going to do later about our hometowns, there is someone who was in a family member's wedding, and he loves Trump. I shouldn't say that. He hates Trump, but he's going to vote for him because he said, I don't like him as a person, but I like his policies. And he believes he's going to do better under Donald Trump. His wife, who has always been very open, talking politics to people in her circle, will not tell him or any of her friends who she voted for. She does not strike me as someone who is afraid to say,
right.
I think that there's something there. I can make my decision for myself. I don't have to tell you who I'm going to vote for. There's a little something that's roiling out there. Does it translate to the voting booth? I don't know, but it's touched a nerve. And what it does, and I've been thinking about this a lot, like this closing argument. The closing argument for Donald Trump hasn't changed from 2016 to 2020 right. to 2024. It's just Donald Trump on steroids, right? The more nervous he gets, not just about the fact of, I don't know if I'm going to win, but if I don't win, what that might mean for those legal things.
Right, because isn't his sentencing later in November
yeah.
for the New York case?
All of that plays into turning the page. And it is, so I don't think we've ever seen a candidate before take Donald Trump's own words and use it to support their own closing message.